thinking about the world as a common market. There's security questions. And one of the reasons why I've been hoping that Africom, the Africa Command for the U.S. Armed Forces, would be located in Atlanta is that, one, we've got 2 or 3 bases that are available for them, but African personnel, military personnel, intelligence personnel, first of all, would love to come to Atlanta. Right now they're in Stuttgart, and they don't speak the language, they're strangers. They'd come here and they'd find friends. They'd be right at home. We have a university system that could very easily accommodate additional students and additional specialized courses, whether they're technology out at Atlanta area tech, where we're doing automobile and aviation training maintenance, whether it's Southern Tech or Georgia Tech, where they're doing different kinds of engineering, practical engineering, aeronautic engineering, theoretical engineering. Whatever you want and whatever you need, we've pretty much got it in this region.
Do you think the Defense Department in an Obama administration will see it this way?
I don't know anything about an Obama administration so far, but I'm assuming it's going to be intelligent and visionary, and whoever makes those decisions would probably see, well, they're spending $200 million a year in Germany. Why not spend that in Georgia? I mean, there are all kinds of reasons, but the effectiveness reason, it would be more effective. You see, I don't see military training as just training in peacekeeping and what we normally think of as defense of one's borders. I think we've got to think of peacekeeping in terms of urban law enforcement. We know how to train police officers to relate to the community. They need that in Africa. They need that in the Caribbean. Urban crime becomes a national security issue, particularly when it involves trade and tourism and the like. They wouldn't think of that in Germany. We had a police force here that was all white, and it was essentially a force designed to oppress the black community. Like many military governments and like many parts of the world, the police force is seen as an oppressor. What we did was, first of all, integrate it so that it was no longer predominantly white. It became black and white. But we desegregated it according to gender also. Our police force here in Atlanta is about 30% female. What we found was that women are far more likely to be interested in community relations and crime prevention. The traditional police force is to respond after a crime has been committed. When you bring some smart women into the police force, they start thinking about protecting children and the elderly and keeping things from happening. They are more attuned to community relations. Women tend to listen better than men. Everybody except my wife. My wife will listen to people, but not to me.
Can we apply this to a conflict, for instance, in the Congo? As, for instance, the ambassador of the Democratic Republic of the Congo was just recently in Atlanta, and she was saying 17,000 UN forces just aren't enough to keep a lid on that. Well, first of all,
we have to have a knowledge of Africa. And the Congo is larger than Europe. See, I mean, 17,000 police forces wouldn't, I mean, you're talking about an area as large as the Midwest, but no roads and jungle. You're not going to be able to keep peace there. Let me leave that for just a minute and go to Sudan. Because if you put the Sudan on the United States map, it would go from Massachusetts down to Florida. And it would extend from the Outer Banks of North Carolina to Ohio. And there are no roads. So, I mean, the government of Rwanda sent 2,000 troops into the Sudan to protect people at Darfur. They had to pull them out because there was no way to get water to them. They couldn't keep them supplied. The problems of Africa are not simple, and no UN resolution is enough. What we've got to do is have an overall development strategy. I would say that the railroad the Chinese are building from the north to the south in Sudan is probably going to do more to stop the killing than all of the peace treaties. If you just want to deal with those, the other problem is we have a concept of justice that doesn't work well in much of the world. We want to punish people who kill. And I agree with that, except that one of the reasons why they won't stop killing is they know as soon as they stop killing, they're going to be hauled off to the World Court. So we've got to have more or less what we did in Rwanda and what we did in Zimbabwe and what we did in South Africa. We extended amnesty. Even with Idi Amin, who was a despicable human being, who if anybody needed to be strung up, he was one. But we said, go die in peace in Saudi Arabia, leave Uganda alone. And once we got rid of him, Uganda began to develop. Now, he died. Nobody even knew he died. See? And so I think that we're talking about a lot of things. We're talking about infrastructure development. See? We're talking about political organization. I suggested to one of the representatives at the Africom dinner just last night, who had been involved in the Sudan, I said, look, we had 40 people from the Sudan here at Georgia State University, and I was supposed to speak to them for an afternoon, and I said, I refuse to speak. I made them tell me what the answer to their country's problem was. See? And what I learned was that they don't know the answer. So if they can't, as Sudanese intellectuals and government officials, and they represent all regions, the only thing they agreed was that once you settle Darfur, which is the Western Sudan, you're going to have another problem in the Eastern Sudan. It sounds to me like the answer is a federated Sudan. Or look at the Nigeria example where they took 3 former colonial regions and broke it up into 36 states. And in order to have a government, you have to have each state represented in that government. There's going to have to be some advanced political thinking about how you structure the Congo and how you structure Sudan. These places are too big